Hello and welcome to my channel. Now that CC7 has been confirmed, it's time to introduce the enemies in the permanent stage and suggest the operators to bring into the stage to make it easier. First, let's look at the stage mechanics. For players who haven't played the Who is Real event, don't worry as it isn't too complicated. Basically, enemies will spawn with a yin or yang element, and this is denoted by the dot at the top of their head. Operators who are deployed onto these tiles here will take up the respective element themselves. Enemies who cross this particular tile will switch their element. When attacking enemies of the same element, the damage dealt is decreased by 40%. When attacking enemies of different elements, the damage is increased by 40%. A relatively simple stage mechanic. You will also start with 2 firecrackers, and these things will explode upon deployment, dealing arts damage in a cross and changing the element of the enemies in range. Moving on to the annoying enemies, we have Smarty, Envy, Blindy and Free, with Free being the boss of this stage. First, let's look at Smarty. These things are the trash mobs of the stage and their stats are pretty low. They have a mechanic where it will explode when touching another Smarty of the opposite element, dealing arts damage in an AoE. They can only be blocked by allies of the same element as them and will explode upon death. Allies with the opposite element will take greater damage. These guys are literally creepers in Arknights. Thankfully most of the Smarties will meet each other and explode in the middle, so you don't have to worry too much about blocking them. These guys deal melee arts damage and are also immune to silence, so there's no way to prevent them from exploding. Next, we have Envy. This thing deals ranged arts damage and can charge its attacks. If they aren't interrupted, it will deal arts damage and shifts its target's element. These guys can screw up your yin and yang elements easily if left unchecked, and can even destroy your operators easily with the arts attack. The charge attack has a cooldown of 60 seconds, so do try to take them out during that time. They are immune to silence as well. Moving on, we have Blindy. Similar to Smarties, they can only be blocked by operators with the same element as them. This is super annoying as they are way tankier than Smarties. There are a few ways to deal with them, with the first being stalling using stun, bind, slow or sleep. Another way is to use big damage to destroy them as quickly as possible. You can also choose to block them using your operators, but do watch out for their element and the oncoming Smarty explosions. Finally, we have Free. This boss isn't that bad. It does ranged arts attacks and its skills are as follow. 1. It can deal arts damage to allies in a cross area and change their element. 2. It can generate a shield that explodes after a while if it isn't broken. The explosion damage is horrible, so be sure to break the shield or everyone will just get destroyed. It also has a second phase where it'll attack 2 operators in range at once. If there is only one, it'll attack the operator twice. It will also launch the cross attack on the ally furthest away from it. This can be very troublesome to deal with. One strategy is to distract the cross attack using Nightingale's birdcage. Now, if you think this video is helpful, do give my channel a sub, it helps a ton. So, who are the operators that'll make your life a lot easier? First up, we have, obviously, Chen the Holingday. This dragon waifu can just destroy everything in her range with her skill 3, easily taking out the Envies and Blindies with minimal support. Next up, we have Mountain. This furry is great at tanking with his skill 2 and can hold back enemies for a decent duration. He can also deal decent damage due to the lack of attack down contracts and the relatively low defense of the enemies. Moving on, we have Fartooth and Schwartz. See this tile here? Yeah, Fartooth's infinite straight line range with her skill 3 can easily snipe enemies from here. The same goes with Schwartz, though Fartooth performs better in this case thanks to her infinite range. Next up, we have Ifrit. Thanks to this tile here, Ifrit shines in this stage. Her skill 2 can inflict consistent bursts of arts damage and defense debuff. Her third can give huge resistance debuff, an awesome unit to bring into this stage. Next, we have Nightingale. As you can already tell, most of the enemies in this stage does arts damage. Nightingale's resistance buff can significantly increase your operator's survivability. Her birdcage can also tank Free's cross attacks. Next is Scatty Altar. The passive healing and inspiration buffs are all great additions. She can also heal Mudrock and Nightingale's cages. Moving on, we have Suzerain. The slow she inflicts with her skill 3 can do some serious stalling. not to mention the fragile effect that debuffs enemies' defense and resistance. Next is Mudrock. Her tanking ability is great and the layers of shield can prevent Big Art's damage from the Smarty explosion and Freeze shield explosion. She is mainly used to hold back Free while your damage dealers do their job. We have the Flag Bearers next, and Saleech specifically. She can inflict slow, stun and fragile, as well as providing a small attack speed buff with her talent, not to mention her DP regeneration. Lastly, we have the edgy Catboy himself. Phantom's skill 3 can shift the Smarty to destroy themselves and can do some crowd control against Free and the Envies. And that is all. Hope this video is helpful in introducing the permanent stage. I will be making similar videos in the future, so do consider subscribing to stay tuned. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.